Hey there, future me. It's been a while again. It's a little over a month. It's currently a Tuesday evening, soon to be Wednesday in about 2 minutes. So I guess by the time we finish this, it'll be Wednesday. But yeah, July's over. We're in August now, and yeah. So what's up? I guess like this is actually take two. We're only 20 seconds in. I've already forgotten if I've already mentioned this, but yeah, this is take two. I recorded take one. I guess Tuesday morning, right? Like deep in the I guess a few hours past midnight, but I feel like I could have done a better job just because I forgot like all the stuff that's like happened over the month and wasn't really able to gather my thoughts as well as I'd like to. So here we are again, right? Surely we'll do a better job this time, right? I really don't want to have to give this take three because if I do that, then I'll have to change the file to like 2025 August 13th, and that's like a whole pain in the ass and everything. So surely, okay. So let's get to it, right? What happened since I guess last time? Not much. Like compared to I guess like the June July stretch, like it's been rather uneventful again on like the major events that make me like contemplate, right? Rather, it's been like a bunch of self-imposed things that have happened. Like there's been like a series of small events, right? Like what like something so on the research front, like research kind of happened, but like it's stagnated due to I guess other things, right? One of the major factors that has happened is that like I had to move all the things in my office downstairs into like a room in the basement because like they're overhauling it. I guess they painted the walls and they're replacing the desks. I showed up today, walked in, like the desk that I used to use was gone, and like they're moving in the new stuff. Like apparently, like we might get desks that could become standing desks. The future is now, right? But yeah, like so I haven't really been in the office too often. Like I was in there like a little bit, like last week, like in between the post paint and before the pre, yeah, between the post paint and the pre furnishing or pre refurnishing window. Just to look at some of the stuff. I ended up snagging one of the office chairs, like the orange office chair, and walked that back home. And so now it's just kind of like sitting right behind me. So that's cool. I got to remember to email the admin guy about it because he said if like all the stuff, all the old stuff is going to get thrown away. But if we take something, we should take a photo of it just to make sure that we didn't just like, it didn't. It's good to keep track of things. Anyhow, I don't think that's like super important. But that like certainly not being in the office, or well, not having the ability to be in the office has certainly messed with my ability to, I guess like has messed with the workflow a little bit. It's not that I was particularly productive in the office, but it's just kind of the constantly being here. I guess it hasn't been good for me either. Of course, like I know of alternatives. I was thinking about like going to the library or like going to like the more like the empty conference room areas that are like also still in the building, right, to work on things. But I just never, I didn't actualize them, right. Prof has recently come back. I guess he came back like 2 weeks ago, like from like overseas. Saw him. He's like, so what happened? I gave him like a rundown over like an hour, and although like there was some stuff to talk about, I still feel like I could have done more. And so he was kind of like here there like I told him about like how I felt like my productivity dropped significantly whenever like he didn't check up on me and like whenever I was out of the office and didn't really have any external I guess like pressures really to like be there and constantly crank things out. And he was kind of like, yeah, well, that's just how it is, right? Like skill issue, shoot harder. Um, and I don't know. I guess, but I'll probably talk about that a little bit later, right? We're setting up like travel things for like the conference in October, and so I got to think about posters and all that jazz. So that's certainly something to think about. Right now is the time to take this quite seriously, and like by the time October ends, I will have gone to my first conference, and that is not too far away. In some ways, this is kind of like the what like a year ago was documenting the October to December candidacy stretch. So now it's the August to October like conference stretch. Maybe that'll be a parallel. Who knows? Um, okay, so office overhaul. Prof came back briefly. He's like gone again, doing more like prof doing prof things, right? I figure he's also got like new kids to tend or new students to tend to, and like the postdoc as well. And it's like it's strange. So I guess like last time I was talking about how I felt like I was really able to, you know, be sufficient on my own and like call my own shots and like do my own things, and I still am. It's just a matter of like incentives and like motivation and all of that. But I think I'll try to elaborate on that a little bit further. But I'm still trying to rack my mind covering all of the small news that's happened over the stretch. But the general gist is like the past month has been pretty rough because I there weren't external there were very few external reinforcements to keep me from like that to I guess like to encourage my regulation of like sleep, food, all like just being like a functional human being, right? Like I think like the first 2 weeks were really dysfunctional. There was a point in time to where I was consistently sleeping like I don't know, like 9 in the morning and waking up like at like 5, which would be good if I were like maybe 12 hours like over, so like somewhere like in China. I don't really know. I'm just kind of guessing based on vibes, but uh, not a good look, right? Like whenever you're doing this consistently and you can't even walk it back, and then like it's so difficult to just hard reset, or you can't hard reset. So during this time, you have to come up with things to do because you're awake, right? And so if you just sleep for an entire day, like that doesn't, then you're just losing the entire day. So you might as well try to do something while you're awake. But then it's hard to, why is it hard? I don't know. Like it's hard to do like serious, like I guess academic stuff while you're awake because it's not crack of dawn. It's like what's the opposite of the crack of dawn? Like the bane of night or the dead of night. There it goes. It's like the dead of night. It's like 2 a.m. in the morning. Why? Now is not the time to be writing code or making plots, right? We should be doing this during normal people hours. So we don't have normal people hours, and so instead we do chores and we play video games. So I've been playing like I guess as a consequence, a lot of Gungeon has been played. But like there are some upsides to this, like we cleaned the apartment a little bit. The pile of receipts is no longer on my table. It is now on 2 cardboard boxes, neatly sorted. Like it's the large pile of receipts has been turned into multiple smaller piles of receipts, now sorted by month. Excellent. Uh, some of the shoe boxes have been turned into storage for like our manuals or like our tools. I went with Moon to like one of those like fancy or not well, weird stores, like one of those like Asian stores to buy some like home slippers. So now if I have people over, we can you know ease them into the home slippers. So that'll be good when I eventually clean the rest of this place to where it's serviceable for I don't know like board games or something. We cleaned the kitchen a little bit. There's like a little bit more space now. We tossed out like the bean pail, which I think has been in there for 20 months, which wasn't there for about like 20 months. So that was like a really yeah. Wow, that's kind of crazy to think about. What else? Yeah, we sorted out the bread mails. Now the bread mail is all like isolated into a single box of oatmeal or a single empty oatmeal box. Trying to think of any like other substantial like home chores that I think are maybe my terminology is a little bit too abstract, but anyhow, like cleaning was done. We did some of that, played some video games, but this is merely well, once again trying to come up with like the specific phrases. I don't think it's a full substitute for actually getting research done, right? It's not like it's merely something that you do to try to feel productive, and it is productive. It's just that ideally we do research and we clean the home, right? It's not just like one or the other. And it is possible to do this. I have done this before. There was a point in time to where I had the routine of doing a good amount of work during like the week, and then during the weekend I would do chores, get groceries, clean a little bit, vacuum, take care of the bathroom, so on and so on. It's just that my routine that I had when I was sleeping erratically, it was something else, and I guess like out of guilt for some reason or something like that, I psyched myself out of trying to do substantial research. But maybe it was, I don't know, like if I'd done a better job with all this stuff and I'd actually bothered to record audio, right? Like, who knows? Maybe we could have had a more accurate depiction. I certainly believe it would be something like, oh, like surely like, well, we won't do research now. We just got to focus on resetting. Once you reset, like we can like go back to doing research and stuff, and then it'll be like all good. But yeah, like that didn't. It took a while for that to happen, right? I think it took like multiple like throwing my sleep schedule off of what is already bad in an attempt to fix it, right? By staying up like particularly longer, forcing myself to sleep earlier. And then I think like I held it for like about like 2 days just to get it thrown off again, which is pretty ass, right? Hung out with the fellas. We went to go like just like some outdoor theater to watch like a Shakespeare play. That was pretty cool. Don't remember the trying to remember the name. It was like one of those like comedy ones, not a tragedy. Still pretty good. Uh, what helped Moon move? Like, wait, this isn't in order. We did something in between that. We went to the dentist, for the first time in 6 months. So this is, I guess, like the 1 year mark of going to this like dentist, right? But we had our appointment on like a Tuesday, right, at like 2 p.m. And this was when our sleep schedule was messed up. And I woke up at 3 p.m. Damn, so it's kind of like you wake up, you look at your phone, you're just like, oh, this is kind of bad. And I called them, and they picked up and was like, hi, my name is like Green, and I'd like to. I had an appointment earlier today, um, and I couldn't come up with like a quick lie as to why like I wasn't able to be there, and so I just told them like I don't know how I just managed to oversleep. I'm so sorry. Could I like be rescheduled, and like if so, like when's the next possible time? So they rescheduled me for Wednesday, right? So just the next day at 1 p.m. and it's like, oh, okay. Surely we don't throw that time, right? And yeah, I didn't throw, but we go there, they do the X-rays, the dentist lady comes over and sits me down. It's like, how's your day going? And I'm like, it could be better, could be worse. Why? And she's like, no, I got bad news for you. Turns me around, puts up the X-rays on the big screen, and it's like, so the gaps between your teeth here, right, are looking a little bit, I guess they're looking a little bit dark. You know what that means? You got cavities. And it's like, no. That's kind of one of those, like, 见棺材掉泪, right? Like, see coffin, crying. You don't cry until you see the coffin. Well, you see the coffin, you're just like, damn, if only I'd floss better. Like, it reminds me of, I guess, a year ago when I also went to the dentist. It's like, you haven't seen the dentist in, like, 4 years, but no cavities, but uh, bone loss, right, and receding gums, and those don't really come back, right? So it's kind of like you got to take better care of your teeth, and I think it was then that I started flossing, and I had kept that up for a good bit, but I think like candidacy threw me off a good amount, and I never really fully recovered going into like the new year, and I suppose it's catching up to me now, right? As I now, well, the cavities are interproximal, they're between my teeth, right? They've gone past the enamel, worn into the dentin, haven't gotten into the pulp. So it's like it's not too bad, but it's also like not repairable. So it's kind of like, man, that really sucks. So that was like I think that was one of the low points. Like maybe like the low point of the month. So it's really like not too crazy of a low point compared to like I guess June, July, but yeah, I felt pretty bad about it. I was like going on the internet to cope, like just to make sure, like, oh, okay, so I really have these cavities and stuff. I was like talking with the fish gang about it, and Pope was like, it was very gracious of her to try to like reassure me and talk about like how like she also had to like get cavities filled and it's just kind of stuff like that. One of my other buddies told me something like that too. It was pretty funny because I remember talking with like a lot of the friends here, like like a Moon or a Step or a Scout, and I was like, "When's the last time you guys went to go see the dentist?" And they're like, "Oh yeah, I haven't gone in like years, like since like undergrad." And it's like, well, maybe the only reason why I feel bad is because I'm aware. Ignorance is indeed bliss, no? But yeah, that was kind of it was an indicator, right? Because it's kind of like I already know that how I do things right now is like pretty dysfunctional, so that was just kind of like bummer, you know. So I guess that happened, and then like I guess a week later, Prof comes back. Like I helped Moon like move from place to place. Like she's like trying to reposition herself tactically to prepare for like going to school again and all that stuff. So like that's kind of one of those ones. Like Arizona is like he's doing things. I trust he'll figure it out. But yeah, like I think that's the month, give or take, right? Oh yeah. well, like I forgot about this weekend. So this weekend there was like a PowerPoint, like one of the guys like had like a PowerPoint night, like he hosted it like with his like girlfriend, like his girlfriend had like a different friend group, so it was like a bit of a cinematic universe crossover type thing, to where we just like got to make PowerPoints. A bunch of people made their PowerPoints on like more whimsical stuff like top tens or like ranking the Skylanders games or like explaining the FNAF timeline. One of like our guys like made like Game of Thrones, but it was just like ranking all the different bathrooms and the around the schools. That was pretty funny. I think I don't think I made a PowerPoint like fully in the spirit of the PowerPoint night because, well, I was initially thinking of doing like some explaining Counter Strike or Magic the Gathering or one of those ones like a crash course to try to. But I feel like there's like too much stuff that I wanted to talk about, and so I just kind of said like, all right, we'll do something about composition. We'll talk about music composition, like how to make music, at least from what I understand. Because like I have no formal training in music theory, right? I just played instruments. That's all. So I briefly talked about it. Becks and calls, threw together like about approximately 1 minute like tune and like the span of 2.5 laborious hours of like, do I add more things or am I just like, am I trying too hard? But the people seem to like it. It's just that I feel like it could have been a little bit more shit posty, a little bit more banty instead of informative and like, hey guys, look at what I did. But that's neither here nor there. Um, and then yeah, like Ref dropped by. So, like Ref drove into town with like some of his like siblings, just to like do general sightseeing. So, like he also stopped by, said hi to me. We like had food somewhere, like walked around campus, showed him my office and stuff, took some photos. So that was pretty cool. It was great to see him. I mean, I'll hopefully be seeing him in like about 4 months' time, but in the winter. But yeah, it was that was pretty neat. So I think that like give or take sums up like the major events of the month, like office move out, office move out, cavities, uh, helping helping Moon move, return of Prof, briefly discussing like travel stuff. I guess I'm going to see the Shakespeare play. PowerPoint night, Ref drops by. I think these are all the major, like the big events. 17 minutes in, holy cow! And so now I'm trying to get to like the more substantial stuff. 17 and a half minutes in, jeez. Happy Wednesday, by the way, I guess. I don't know. I feel like I already kind of like danced around it, right? Like it's just this general lack of external pressure. I was talking with one of the kiddos earlier, right? I guess I talked to both of them eventually because I was talking with like one of them earlier today, and then like a few days ago I was talking with the other one about like how it really does feel like the shift from undergrad to grad is like drowning versus dying of thirst in regards to external pressures. As an undergrad, you constantly have these deadlines to work, like I guess to squeeze production out of you, right? If you don't hit these checks, like you can clearly see them and the repercussions are quite evident. Whereas with grad, everything is a lot further away and it's just kind of on you to work at your own pace. And yeah, I think this is a reoccurring theme, right? I feel like I've probably said this over and over and over again. It's just like it feels like I still haven't adapted my build, right? My build in undergrad was kind of like having these really high ceilings whenever like I would hit all of my shots and just like get like a rhythm. But like my floor was also still pretty decent because my floor was bolstered by the immediate urgency of, oh, this assignment is due, oh, these things are due. But now, like as grad, like I think I still have these really good ceilings when I work up a rhythm and like do all this math. It's just that my floors are absolute garbage because there's no, there's no external stuff, and so it's really just kind of like on me to like put the gun to my head and ensure that like my floors are, I can still have really high ceilings, but also like not like completely, deep into the earth floors. And that's, I don't know. It's just hard, right? It feels like once you've thrown off like once you mess up like the most fundamental aspects of your existence, right? Like, or well, this is what a strange way to phrase it. Like once you mess up the very fundamental, or I almost said the same thing. Once you mess up the core aspects of living, your sleep schedule, when you eat, like when you just take care of your chores, other things, right? Like it's kind of like the pyramid, like the Maslow's like hierarchy of needs, right? Once you throw off this stuff, you can't really fix the other things because you're too busy like fixing like all the stuff on like the bottom layer, right? Um, and as much as I can do that and constantly play this game of I have a routine, the routine gets thrown off, I spent a lot of time trying to like recover and run it back. Do I actually have time to do this? Like, can I afford this in the context of I want to go into academia? Like, in order to get into academia, we have to achieve a lot of things as a grad student. I would assume, right? Maybe I'm wrong for this, because I got to achieve things as a grad student to set up a good postdoc, which then set up like a good like professorship. Is that what it's called? Like to get yourself on tenure track and all that. So if you don't have like, is there time, right? Like, is there actually room to fall? Regardless as to what the answer is, I find myself falling, and it's quite this. It shouldn't be like this, right? Like it just has to. It just has to be better. The solution is just to becoming better. Is just to never fall to begin with. And so, what do you do if you've fallen? Of course, it's also stupid to like simply throw in the towel and to give up immediately, even if the position is like theoretically lost. Perhaps our opponent can blunder, although I'm not really sure what the quote-unquote opponent is in this analogy, right? Let's keep the thoughts moving along. Let's keep the thoughts moving. It'll be fine. It'll be fine. It's just one of those. It's one of those ones, right? We just have to push ourselves more, and there's not really anyone to hold us accountable for this. In some ways, I'm not sure, like, how else I'd rather have it, like, because I would think that in some ways this is kind of like a test to see, like, if I'm actually capable of maturing and becoming an adult, because if I'm not able to do it, then I don't really think I'm worthy, of becoming a professor anyhow, but it's still not great to see that I'm faltering at this place, at this point. It seems that my ability to spiral out of control is really, isn't doing me any favors, right? Just as how like the same spiral, like the momentum can drive me to like get these really high highs and like, oh yeah, I'm like finding a lot of things, like all these things are coming together, like who needs like to I don't like, let's not worry about going back home for now, let's like bang out a few things before I go out to sleep. Yeah, it's fine if I like come back home at like 3 a.m. It's like all good. We did something cool and we can like keep running with it tomorrow. So whereas like our momentum-based like play style, if you will, like can get us to this, our momentum-based play style, whenever like we start missing our shots or sleep gets thrown off, like it can also really mess with us, right? And oh yeah, well I guess today is an off day. I guess we'll just try to reset and then we'll save the good work for once we reset, and instead of doing the good work, we'll fill it in with some like I don't know, chores, games, which is fine, sure, I guess, but these should be secondaries and not primaries. Or you're making them primaries to compensate for, like, you feel like you're not in a good state to do your real primaries, right? And so it's just, like, it's tough, right? My sleep schedule actually right now is, like, not too good. I guess, like, I went to sleep at 5 yesterday, 6 the day before, but then, like, the 2 days before were actually really great. I was going to bed around, like, like a 1 or, like, a midnight, waking up, like, with the sun before my alarm clock went off, which is, like, this is so nice. I wish I could do this more often, right? And then all it took was, like, one offset, and now I have to gradually walk it back. And hope that I don't, like, repeat the same thing again. What else? Like, I don't know. Like, it's just, we gotta be better. That's all there is to it. Because if we aren't, like, no one else is going to make things better for us, right? Like, it's simply, that's it, right? That's all there is to it. And in some ways, like, I don't know. I'm trying to find, like, realizing that I also should have brought up, like, conversations with my dad. I told my dad as to how, like, kind of expressed to him that I feel like it's like something vaguely along these lines of like it's just kind of like up to me to like figure things out, and like if I like eat shit, then that's how it goes, and that's quite unfortunate. And he was like, but like son, I can help you and stuff. I can come over, and it's like I don't really, I I don't know. I think if my dad came over, he would okay, like he would weep. No, no, no. But he would certainly not feel too good as to how I'm doing things right now. Like I certainly wasn't the most upfront with him when he was asking me about like my sleep schedule and all that stuff. I remember calling him like and telling him about the dentist stuff, and he was like, "Yeah, I told you so. You should have flossed more." But um, I don't think it's probably bad of me to not like be upfront with him as to regards to the past period of dysfunction, but I don't really want him to pity me, I suppose. Like, he's already done so much. And, yeah, I don't know. I guess, like, being pitied in general is not really, I feel like that's something that I've not, like, loathed, but it's just, it's not a great feeling, right? Ideally, you would hope that by now you've done enough things to be appreciated and valued, to have something that's like people can say like, yeah, he did this thing, great, right? Instead of it being like, man, I feel bad for that guy. Um, but we'll have to, we'll still have to work on it. I guess. Oh wow, I think I forgot another thing. Another thing that the government starting, right? Or well, like the participating in the grad school like org is like picking off. Like we had like a changing of the guard thing. Where like so I guess like I'm officially like supposed to be in charge of doing things now. Like so I'm making my threads, trying to set up the collab events, delegate things to people. I figure I'll have more gripes about that later. But right now it's like it's nice to have something like that. Because it's now like another external pressure, right, to try to keep me afloat or try to keep me consistent, right? But ideally, well, we don't. Ideally, we create the external pressures, and in some ways, I did create this external pressure. I poked my head in, and people went up to me and said like, "Yo, great, you're mooching off of these free food events quite often, right?" I was like, "Yeah, you should go participate and give back and be in the grad student org." I was like, "All right," VP last year, president by default this year. And so here we are, right? But it would be nice to have like external, internal deadlines, right? Like past me said something, I'm gonna go do it. I don't care if I think past me is a bum right now. I'm a bum. Like, oh, I think past me is a bum. That's tough. I'm also a bum. Who cares? Let's go do the thing anyways, right? Like if I could do that like more consistently, that'd be great. If anything, maybe like the channel is kind of like one of those things that I should try to fix myself towards, right? Uploading more consistently and stuff. But that's, you know, uh, talk a big game as much as you want, kid. As long as it doesn't happen, it sounds like you're baiting. So, yeah, I don't know. It's just vacuum, momentum. Uh, what's he gonna say next? Harmonic oscillators, second quantization. But yeah, there's stuff to there's stuff to do. No one else to really behold it or to witness it. It's simply on to me to pick myself up because if I am to fall over, um, the only person who will see all of this is me, right? And the only person who will bear the consequences is also me. So yeah, that's all I got for now. Hope that well, hope the next audio is a bit sooner than last time. But we've said that the past few times as well. But who knows? We'll see. All right, future me. See you around.